Right, I think it's about time we get this thing running. So, going to write a list out of the bits we need and get it running without the radiator, intercooler, etc. Just got the engine loom in there. Got to sort putting a map on one of the ECUs. I'm just going to put it all together temporary at the minute to get it running. Turn it all over. Just got to bolt down the rocker cover. Got to get some oil as well for inside here. So I'm going to go and get some oil for it. Fill it up with oil. Make sure we've got good oil pressure before we even try to start it. So we turn it over. Got to address a few issues with earths. So also underneath, we've got to tighten up all these fuel lines. You can see they're all loose at the minute. Got to get underneath. There's put a fuel filter on. Make sure all the lines are connected up to the tank. So I'm going to jack that up in the air, so we get good fuel pressure. Then we can do a compression test on the engine, make sure everything's sweet there. Then we can just start bolting it all back together, get the intercooler, new radiator, etc. on. So it ain't going to be long. While I was putting this throttle body together, I thought I'd mention something. In the side of this throttle body, you can see there's a tiny little hole, inconspicuous hole. Now that hole goes through here to the one-way valve on your breather system. What happens is a lot of carbon build up, and especially if your one-way valve is knackered, this hole becomes blocked. That becomes blocked, you're going to have breather issues, you're going to have the rocker cover gasket's going to be leaking. So make sure that you stick a nice bit of metal, you know, a bit of welding wire or something. Just trying to do it here with one hand while one hand filming. You get it in there and then make sure it comes out the hole and nice and freely. So you can see this has been cleaned out. You see that goes all the way through. So make sure you clean it out, a bit of welding wire or something like that, because if that's gunked up, you're going to have problems with your rocker cover. That's going to start leaking because you're going to have crankcase pressure building up in your rocker cover. And then other thing is, make sure you put these seals on. Now I know it sounds silly, but I've took cars apart and they've had no seals on either side of the throttle body, which is amazing. I can't believe people would ever do it. But if you don't, you're going to have obviously terrible running problems. All your boost is going to be let out through the throttle body. Just little silly things. I know it sounds stupid, but I've seen it in the past. So this is the loom that I'm running on the car. No, it's just a standard loom, but I've tidied it right up. I've done a proper math extension on it as well. You can see it's all got a proper conduit all over it, and I've shortened some of the wires, tidied some of the wires up and tucked it all inside here. I've got a new cover to go over the top. But I'm going to get it running. Obviously I want to get the car running, that's the most important part. And then once that's done, then I will move the ECU so it's out of way, because you don't want it on that turret. So that's obviously going to be the ECU plug, which then would sit there normally with that plug. In the meantime of getting it running, obviously it's going to be there, so we're going to plug it in, but it's not going to be bolted to this turret. It's probably going to be down the back here somewhere. It's not going to be inside the car like the other car, but it's just going to be out of the way, so that's nice and clean. So engine loom's all in, looking clean. I hate this plastic cover that goes over the top of the injectors. Eventually I'll strip this engine loom apart and I'll tuck it all underneath the inlet manifold and do the same as I've done in the other car. I'm leaving the engine bay loom like that for now because it's still quite tidy. So I'm going to bolt down the rocker cover now, sort all the earths out and get this thing turned over. I've got to put some oil in it. There's no oil in it at the minute, so get some oil in there. So I'm going to go and pick some oil up, get a fuel filter as well for the fuel lines, get it turned over, do a compression test quickly. So I'm replacing these cam cover bolts with stainless ones because I can't stand the way that the standard bolt rusts. Don't matter if you buy brand new ones like these ones were, they still rust as soon as they get some moisture on them. If you want to know, these are M6 by 30mm, so the thread, you can see, is perfect for the stock size bolt. Fits in the rocker cover nicely, so don't go out and get yourself ripped off by eBay bolt kits or whatever. Just go out. I mean, I think I bought them 50 there for about £3, you know, so you only need 10 for the rocker cover. So yeah, as I say, M6 by 30mm stainless bolts do the job, look a lot prettier and don't rust. And also, while I pulled the cam cover off quickly, give it a fresh coat of the original silver. This is the original silver they use for the cam covers, and you see it comes up lovely. They don't put a lacquer on the top of them, comes up satin like that. I think it looks a lot better. So with the fresh bolts, they look a lot tidier, a little bit OEM style. Well, the cam cover's back on with a nice stainless bolts, and it's I've just filled it up with oil. It's getting kind of serious now. So yeah, we've got 5 litres of oil in there. Gonna have to I've just took the plugs out as well, and then I can turn it over without the compression building up inside the chamber, so won't do any sort of damage when we're trying to start her up. It's a good thing to do is when you're starting a new build up, build the oil pressure up first without the plugs in, because then it doesn't create any sort of pressure on the bearings, the big end bearings, the main bearings, anything like that, because there's no compression in the cylinders. So you can see here I've removed the wing just so I can get to the inner wing, and I can mess around with this wiring as well. Got a plan because I've tucked up all this wiring in here like it's supposed to go down into the washer bottle, etc. with these good old clips. Invaluable, these things. Just go through the holes you can see and tidy up the wire in a treat. But what I'm doing is, you can see obviously I've smoothed this turret and all that and took all the seam sealer off it. So the original earth for the loom, I'm going to tuck back through here, through this hole here, and you can see I've also pulled through the power cable. This goes to the boot, and that's going to be tucked back there as well. So the power and the earths, I'm going to pull the earths through that hole there where the indicator wire goes, and then I'm going to get rid of all this lot. These are the earths for the starter motor and for the power steering pump. That's going to go down there just to let them have a little bit more tidier, because normally it goes to here, but obviously I've smoothed it all and smoothed all the nuts out, so I can't bolt them down there. I've been waiting on a few silly little bits for the car, bits that, you know, when you're building cars like this you don't think you need and you've got everything, but you'll normally end up having all the biggest, most expensive parts and all the silly little bits like washers and that. You overlook them and you forget them. So just things like I ain't been able to turn the car over because this is the oil return for the turbo that goes into the block, and I ain't had no copper washers, and if anyone wants to know, they're M18s. So you can see I've had to get some of them. Also got some injector clips that I'm going to use when I build up that engine loom. As you know, that engine loom's not staying like that, so I've got some injector clips with the proper boots on them. These are Tyco ones, so they're proper. Got some connectors for the battery cables as well. Now you can see I've got the terminal block. This is going to be used to join the battery cable to the battery in the boot, so I've got some terminals for that, and then they're going to be crushed onto the wiring for the battery. So I've changed the hoses to the black, brand new satin black ones, you know, like the OEM ones. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm just messing around with different hosing and different colours at the minute. Probably not going to leave this red either. That's probably going to be changed. Probably a new air filter on there as well. So you can see here I've put all the battery cables coming through here, so they're tidy. Obviously this will all be tidied up in the future. There's no way this is staying like this, but as you know, this is just to get it started. So you can see got the terminal connectors now. They're going to be clamped on like that on all the different terminals, and then there's the earth that I've tucked down the back, and that's going to be hidden down the back somewhere. I'm going to make an earth terminal for that, and then that's going to be joint with them as well, so it bolts to the chassis, so that ain't coming up here because obviously that's been welded up. So that one's going to go down the back in this inner wing. You can see that's that one there, so that will probably be joint to there. Another thing that I've been waiting for is the new alloy radiator for the car, so just got that through. So we're going to unpackage this now, get it out, and I've used these a lot in the past. You've probably seen me use these on other cars that I've built, and they're good radiators for what they are. A lot of people have problems because their actual setup is wrong, but there's nothing wrong with these over a standard unit, and they're not expensive either. There's not many radiators out there on the market for these cars, especially in alloy. So these ones are not bad. As you can see, they're 40mm thick, so they're nice and thick. The occasional one you do get through and they do leak, but I've never had one so far, but I have seen it online. Don't know if they're like a Chinese knockoff version or not. So as you can see here, the welds on them are not too bad, as long as you've got no pinholes in them. I just checked them all, they're all good. You can see all along the end caps and everything's well done properly, and you can see that you can obviously use the stock radiator and everything with these. Now I wish that they'd done a version that you had aircon delete, so it wouldn't have all these brackets and everything on it. It'd be clean. I have thought about cutting them all off, but then, you know, it'll look untidy and everything, so I'm just going to leave them on. I've also got twin spiral fans to go on the back as well. Like, you know, I like to run aftermarket fans on these. They just provide a ton more airflow than the stock fan. So these are the fans I'm using. They're 11-inch, and you can see that they fit nice and tight next to each other. They've got all the mounting brackets and everything, but I never normally use them. Normally just go through here, go through the rad through these holes, and just wire them in. Now you've seen me wire these in before on aircon delete cars, so don't have to go into too much detail on them. So we're going to get this rad in now. You can see I've put some new rubbers on them as well that I had laying around. I always keep these ones in stock because they always split. I don't know if you've worked on your own cars, but these normally always split. So the other option you can do if you don't want to remove the aircon off the car is you can run like one big fan like this. This is like a 16-inch fan, and this one will replace the fan that goes on the back of the radiator, and That way you can keep your aircon radiator on the front, and this one can go on the back like it would normally, and you can see how much more room you've got in there. So if you've got a big turbo kit on there, you've got loads more room, and it flows a lot more air than the stock fan. And a good little touch, I've had a few come through without any drainage plugs on them, and they're right nightmare to get in that thread size, so these ones have all got them in there. So I've also managed to get myself some radiator bracket mounts as well, and some brand new rubbers, and I've just put some different hardware in there. But that's the Raddle mounted. You can see how nice that's looking. So the engine bay is looking really clean now. Just got to put the heat shield onto the exhaust manifold, even though that's brand new. Still just tidies it up a little bit. I just want to start getting it turned over now. Also just crimped on the connectors for the battery cable. So that one is obviously the main one for the battery that goes to the fuse box. And then I've got this one is from the battery from the boot, and then this one is for the starter. So now going to get this mounted up. So eventually I'm going to make a bracket up that goes like down to there and then bolts this up, but just for now I'm just going to join them together. It just makes it easier, and then I'll reroute all this wiring so when I finish it off and it's all started and running. So when it comes to street tubings, I don't bother buying it in little measly amounts. I always go for like metre lengths. So I just had to fight my way into the boot, because the boot's being used as a storage unit at the minute. You can see it's full of crap everywhere. So see the battery trays down here. Obviously once I've got this car running, the whole boot would be emptied out and we'll be able to tidy it all up. But I'm just going to dump the battery in there quickly and reconnect it. See that power cable goes back to the engine bay, so we can see if this engine actually turns over. So I managed to temporarily get a battery in there. This wiring is absolutely dreadful, but yeah, do for now. So just get the power connected. First time that this car has had a battery in it for about 3 years now. Oh, so we've got an indicator going. Let's get the old key in the ignition, see if we've got some dash lights going on. Well, everything looks good, so let's give it a quick turn over. Nothing. So as you just see, absolutely nothing is going on with this starter motor. I've just rigged up this contraption with the battery, got an earth going on the starter motor, the power's going to the power. Battery's all earthed up and everything to chassis. I've just tested it with a multimeter and it's getting 12 volts and everything. But then when I put a 12 volt to the solenoid, which is here, you can see solenoid, nothing, absolutely nothing happening. So it looks like the solenoid in this is packed up. Now hopefully I've got one in sitting around somewhere for a spare, so I'm going to look for that. So I've just found another couple of starter motors. I just dug them out. I know that these ones will be good because I would never put any parts away that were useless. That one pretty much looks the newest one, so I think I'm going to try that one first. Just my luck that I obviously tried the starter motor and put it on the car, one that was knackered. That looks like it might have been whacked a couple of times in the past. I'm not sure, which would normally be because the solenoids get jammed, but this ain't even clicking at all. This one's just making no noise. So let's give this one a test. I just tested out the Evo starter motor. You can see it a lot smaller actually than the Z20let ones. Just wanted to see if that one was working with this setup, and it is. So yeah, we can test that out now. But let's try that one. So we've got the earth hooked up. This is the power. Your power goes to there, and obviously the solenoid for this one is down here on the 10mm. So what I normally do is just open up the clamp, and then yep, I can hear it straight away. You can hear that's working. So let me just show you how that looks when it's working. So this one's interesting for people that haven't ever looked inside a starter. I really don't know what it does, but basically this shaft slides out once it's electrified and starts spinning, and that's what engages the flywheel. So you can see at the minute it's disengaged, and I'll just engage it for you. Let's just give it a quick engage so you can see. There you go. So you can see there what happens is it slides out, engages on the flywheel, and then obviously turns the flywheel. So that one's working. Just give it a quick lick of paint just to freshen it up a little bit, so we get this back on the car now and try again. The starter is back on, and we're going to give this another try. Oh, there we go. So you can hear how nicely that's turning over. That's because it's got no spark plugs in it. So I'm going to do a compression test on it now. Just going to get the oil pressure up quickly. So just a quick tip on the new build with a new turbo. I always leave this top oil feed to the turbo loose. You can see now I know that there's oil pressure going straight into the turbo, lovely golden oil. And I know that if I was going to start this up now, I'm going to have actually oil pressure and oil going into the turbo. So I know it's a little bit messy, but it's nothing to wipe up. So I'm going to just do that bolt back up now, and we get on with it. I've just done a compression test on it, and we've got 11 bar across all 4 cylinders now. So going to get some spark plugs in here. Just check there's oil all to the head. You can see all the cams and everything are getting lubed up, so we're all good. Got good oil pressure, so the lifters should be full of oil now. And in the next episode we're going to get to starting it.